If you're a worship leader looking to purchase a new acoustic guitar for worship ministry, we know how overwhelming it can be selecting between the huge variety of guitars out there. That's why in this video, we are going to address some of the key considerations that you're going to want to think through before purchasing a guitar. And then we're going to give you a few of our favorite guitar recommendations from manufacturers such as Taylor, Martin, and Gibson. We're going to talk about the distinctive characteristics of each of these guitars, and we'll also demo the sound of the guitars so you can hear them for yourself. All of this coming up. My name's Jake Goslin with Churchfront.com, helping you lead gospel-centered and tech-savvy worship. Today, I'm joined by Buster and Chipper. And these are just some great names you guys have. But we're excited to be here at Sweetwater headquarters in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Buster works with AllPro. They're a integration company that does all sorts of projects to install audio and visual equipment at churches, but he's also a touring musician, or has been a touring musician, a guitarist, a worship leader. So we wanted him to join us in this conversation today. And then Chipper is our music director at Mission Lakewood and music producer with Churchfront. So we wanted to get together and have a casual conversation about some recommended acoustic guitars, as well as the key questions and considerations you're going to want to think about as a worship leader before purchasing a guitar. So let's go ahead and dive in. So Buster, I'm going to put you on the spot.
All right.
If someone had about $2,000 to invest into acoustic guitar, and I do want to say, you can spend less than $2,000 on acoustic guitar. That's totally fine if that's all your budget allows. There's lots of great options, and we will even link those options below in the description. But the reason we came up with this combination of guitars right here is that each one of these, from Taylor, Gibson, and Martin, they are at pretty much exactly $2,000. And that seems to be kind of the sweet spot price point in terms of investing into a guitar that's going to last you pretty much a lifetime if you maintain it, take care of it, and it's really going to get you that level of professional sound quality that one might be looking for. So that's why we're looking specifically at these guitars at this price point. So when a worship leader, let's pretend a worship leader comes to you looking for advice and is like, hey, I got about $2,000, I want to invest into an acoustic guitar. Where do I begin? Like, how do I even start thinking about the right option for me?
Yeah. So I'd say that the first thing, man, probably would be to look at the type of band that you're playing with currently. Like, we deal with a lot of churches. Most churches are 200 people or under. So that doesn't lead to huge worship bands like Hillsong, Bethel, those type of things. So when you've got a normal size worship team, you may only have one acoustic guitar player, sometimes not even electric, some keys, some stuff like that. So if you're doing that, maybe look more towards like the Martin Gibson side of stuff, to where it does have that more warm sound to it, the fuller sound. Then you see these other churches that are blessed with more musicians on the stage, everything like that. And then that's where kind of a Taylor, they have a little bit more high end to them, more chime, to where they can cut through a mix more, and you can hear more of the acoustic when you have more musicians. And so you can still have that needed percussion, that bass of an acoustic guitar, and still cut through that mix and not get drowned out by other instruments. It's
interesting you bring that up, because I have a J45 and I have a Taylor 614 at home. And I think subconsciously I've chosen to go with the Taylor when I'm in the full band environment a lot. And then when COVID hit and we had to go in quarantine, we're doing more acoustic sessions, I've been a bigger fan of my J45.
Yeah.
Just because you're right, it has that more kind of well-rounded sound that I desire in a more stripped-down band context. But then when I'm back with the full band, with we run tracks and keys and drums, it's like the Taylor, I've heard it said sometimes an acoustic guitar is kind of like a glorified shaker, that has some tone to it, right? And And you really only need more of that like high end of the instrument.
Yeah.
So that's a really good point to bring up. So think about what band context you guys are in when you're picking an acoustic guitar. And maybe there's some options too that are kind of, I don't know, in the middle of the road, because there's so much tone variation to these. And we're often playing in different contexts too. Like sometimes we're doing a solo acoustic set, sometimes we have a full band.
Yeah, and for something like that, I think that the guitar you're playing is like a triple out style body. A lot of those, they're really more conducive for being a lot more versatile in those sets, to where you can still have more of that mid-range to cut through the mix and do all that stuff, but you still have enough body to it where you can do finger picking on it, strumming, any of that stuff, and it still has enough body but still enough punch, and it just has a lot of that. That's my main guitar, is a triple out.
Awesome. A triple what? The
Triple O, sorry.
Triple O.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's this
similar to what you're
Similar
playing.
triple O to-
Yeah.
So is it, what do they call it? Triple O to like 14, or like what is it?
Triple O 14. I mean, triple O is just like the body style. Like you have your double O, your triple O, all those like the different.
Like the OM series, or like the.
Yeah, the OM series are similar to it. They're basically the ones that, like, instead of having the huge back into them, the lower bout, they're more. I like them mostly because they're more comfortable for me to play.
Yeah.
I'm an electric guitar player first, and so having a little bit smaller, more comfortable acoustic like that is easier for me to lead with anyway.
Yep.
But yeah, like I said, they have a little bit more mid-range to them, so you can still cut through the mix, but still have enough body, just the way that the body is, the bracing and everything is designed in those, to be able to do, some solo gigs and stuff like that.
Yep. Chipper, tell us more about the tone woods that you were looking at as you selected these guitars, because we're here at Sweetwater and Chipper just went to their store and just grabbed them and brought them in the studio. So tell us about the different tone woods that we have here, and maybe how that is something we need to think about when we pick a guitar.
Yeah, so I think all of these are solid bodies. Is that one a solid body as well?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so they're all solid bodies back and side. I believe that this one is, what is this, Sapel?
Yep.
The 314 Sapel. That is mahogany, and then that guy's cherry. But really, I think you could probably answer this better than I, but just like depending on the wood that you're choosing, is really kind of where you get your tone for your acoustic, right?
Yeah, a huge part of. Yeah, just like you said, like mahogany is going to be, a little punchier,
right.
Have that kind of thing to it. Rosewood and the Sapele, they're kind of cousins. They're more of that. They try and mellow out kind of the more wide range of tone kind of thing. It's just it's more mellow to it, and so you get the mahogany is kind of my two that I go towards, is the mahogany punches through, more talking about mids again kind of thing. And then like I said, the rosewood kind of warms stuff up.
Cool. So can you tell us a little bit more about the importance of bracing within an acoustic guitar, and how that also adds to the importance of the tone?
So yeah, with bracing and tops and everything like that, so arguably, people will say anywhere from 75 to 85 or 90% of the tone comes from the top of an acoustic guitar, and that's basically off of how the bracing is designed on the top, under the top. And so with a guitar like the Martins and the Gibsons, they have the X bracing, the normal, the traditional style bracing. With the Taylor that you're playing, it has the V-class bracing, and so what they came up with for that was that when you have that, it keeps it more even, because sometimes you find a guitar that the bracing is done not as much attention is drawn to the bracing. With the X bracing, it can warble a little bit, and that actually makes some of those notes phase out a little bit, and you just don't get as much dynamic from it, and the air is working against itself almost. And so with the V bracing, you don't get that warble with the X going this way. It just pumps straight in and out, and so the air is just flowing straight in and out of the sound hole, so you get more of the dynamic, more the evenness of it, and you get more of the spectrum of the real notes to it. Nice. And so that's where Taylor came up with that, and so that's they've done a great job with that too. Cool. But also obviously X bracing is the traditional way to do it, and it's been tried and true for so many years, and people still prefer that a lot of times, so it really is just a preference thing.
And even though these are acoustic guitars that you can just hear acoustically from the body that's resonating here, we also have to think about electronics that are inside of these guitars, because as worship leaders, we're plugging into our PA system so that the congregation can actually hear the guitar. So what are some factors to consider around electronics, pickups? What are kind of the popular types that we're seeing in these guitars here?
Yeah, so Taylor has their own systems. This one, I believe, has the ES2 system in it. Really good. It's actually these pickups here behind the saddle. And so it does catch a lot of that chime. You'd play, pick up there. That's, it catches a lot of that high-end clarity from it. But yeah, people live by the Taylor pickups for a lot of that stuff. This one, I'm trying to remember. I believe LR bags. And then that one, is that the Fishman?
Yeah.
And so, and then another, some popular ones are LR bags and Fishman. Martin uses both of them. They'll, kind of interchange depending on the guitar. And then, they're super popular. They have a lot of different kinds. Something to think about when you're looking at pickups for an acoustic guitar is if you want an undersaddle for the piezo, or if you want the inside, like the microphone style. And so, but a lot of them also have the blend option, to where you have the inside the body microphone and then the undersaddle, and you get the tone, the blend from it. And so with the microphone side of it, you kind of get more of the high end stuff like that, and then you kind of get more of the bass and the body vibrations from the undersaddle. So I actually use a LR Baggs Anthem, for example, and getting to blend in that, you get to really spec out your tone for wherever you're at. Another thing to think about is that what kind of room are you playing in? Where the speaker's set up? How good is your system in there? Because how many times have you heard an acoustic pickup feedback? So that's another thing, is that you have that option to just go undersaddle, and you don't get that feedback issue as much there.
Awesome. Another important factor to consider when purchasing an acoustic guitar is the body style, if you have a cutaway or no cutaway. So this one has a no cutaway on it. Yours has a cutaway. Yours has a cutaway. What's the advantage of having a cutaway?
Lead.
Yeah.
yeah. It's more open chords, that kind of thing, or more lead.
Yeah. To me, my personal preference, I like this better because it just looks like a old school acoustic guitar. I'm not really doing lead stuff up here. Rarely. I'm a pretty boring acoustic guitar player. Just give me a capo on the second or fourth fret, and I'm just down here the whole time. But yeah, it's something to consider. If you want to play up here, your fingers just can't reach these frets without a cutaway.
So what's the importance of the wood that's being used on the fretboard / the neck, and even the nut and the saddle? Like, what's the importance? I know that a lot of people like to use bone, but I think this guy has composite, right? I think.
So I'm trying to remember. I do think it's a composite nut and the saddle. A lot of people are using now the Graphtec stuff.
Okay.
And so it's not real bone anymore as much, but they try and make it as close as possible. So the whole thing about it is that you go into cheaper guitars and you have like the plastic nut on them or something like that, and so that can cut down on the resonance, because you think about it, your guitar, your strings are touching mainly two places where they're suspended at, over the sound hole and the fretboard and everything like that. So if this is just a cheap piece of plastic, or here on the saddle or the nut, then it's going to cut down on the resonance of it. That's where it goes. And actually a big thing on the end pins as well. That's why you see people using ebony, that same style of end pin, because it's what touches that string. It can cut down on the resonance to the body. As far as like the woods on the neck, again, they definitely contribute less than the top wood or anything like that, but a lot of people can still pick up on that. Still mahogany. Keeping that in mind, that the type of tone woods, and there are so many charts that you can check out for, mahogany, rosewood, all these other ones. And you can see where on the spectrum those tones are. The fretboard is a big one as well. I believe that's an ebony fretboard.
Yeah.
And so you look at like ebony or ebony and rosewood are big ones. And so rosewood is going to be, again, like we were talking about earlier, more of the mellow, just widespread variety of, it's just kind of the whole spectrum. And then ebony is a little bit harder of a wood, and so it's a lot of where that Taylor brightness, it lends itself to that as well.
Cool.
So that's an ebony neck or fretboard?
Fretboard.
Okay.
Fretboard.
Mahogany, and this is this ebony?
I believe so.
Maybe rosewood.
Axe cherry.
I think that guy's rosewood.
This one's rosewood.
Yeah.
I think.
Or rosewood. Okay.
I can't remember if that's just a darker piece of rosewood or ebony on that.
I think another thing worth noting when you pay more for an acoustic guitar or any guitar out there, you're also just getting better quality like hardware, like when it comes to tuning keys and things like that, because after years of playing a guitar, if you have a cheap one, like that stuff tends to go bad. Whereas on my higher end guitars, like they haven't given me any problems in like 10 years. So I don't know, any other additional thoughts around that? Because I love these tuning keys on the Smart. And
I'm a big fan of the open backs on these.
Yeah.
And so for me, just don't get cheap tuners.
Yeah.
And that's, even if you have a cheaper guitar, upgrade the tuners. It's again, part of where the string attaches itself. And if you go out of tune, it's people notice that. So good tuners, Grover, Schaller, all these other different companies just make great tuners, super high quality, and there's a lot of engineering goes behind it. But then, just choose to have better ones on there. It's just going to last you and make that guitar more of a workhorse.
Great. So those are our tips on what you need to consider when you're shopping for a new acoustic guitar. Now we actually want to share with you some samples of the different sounds of these guitars. So we're going to go ahead and roll that footage. We're going to roll some footage where you'll be able to hear the guitar mic'd externally, and then also you'll be able to hear the pickups from this mic going straight into our recorder. So I hope by now you have so much more clarity on how to select the right acoustic guitar for your worship ministry. I want to encourage you to check out the links below this video where you can find these acoustic guitars on Sweetwater, and be sure to give a call to your Sweetwater sales rep as they can help you think through these different considerations and questions for your unique situation. Thanks so much, Buster, for joining us for this video. Your insight was really, really helpful, and go check out All Pro for your audio and integration needs. And thanks, Chipper, for your insight as well. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button on this video if you found this video helpful, and be sure to subscribe to the Churchfront channel so you don't miss out on any of our latest videos to help you grow yourself and grow your worship ministry.